Alright, so this little bit is going to be on judgment. I'm going a little bit out of order on the sermons that I did. This one was the 13th one that I did, and I'm not really going to go off of what I had typed up. It's going to be a little bit different because, I don't know, I keep getting accused of judging at work. Everybody, oh, you judge. Jesus Christ didn't judge. Jesus Christ did judge. When Jesus Christ talks about prayer, he talks about the Sadducees and the Pharisees, preaching aloud on street corners and in synagogues. They're not preaching they're not praying aloud because they want God to hear them. They're praying aloud because they want people to see them praying and to say, oh, well, they're holy people. They're righteous people. Look at them. We need to follow by their standard. We need to follow by their example. And a lot of people, anybody who knows the Bible and comes at me about judgment, they always say, oh, well, Matthew 7:1-2 says, do not judge so that you will not be judged. For in the way you judge, you will be judged, and by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. But I think Romans 2:1 clears it up the best, which is why I wanted to talk about this, because when I, tell somebody something that they shouldn't do, it's out of love for them, and it's to edify them, to build them up, not to break them down. And Romans 2:1 says, therefore you have no excuse, every one of you who passes judgment. For in that which you judge another, you condemn yourself, for you who judge practice the same things. So, I can't say to somebody, oh, well, you shouldn't smoke because I smoke. Somebody who goes around and sleeps around shouldn't say to somebody, oh, well, you shouldn't have sex outside of marriage. That's a sin. Well, look at yourself. It all comes back to this mirror analogy. I use a mirror analogy in a lot of my sermons, and it's basically that we need to look at ourselves before we look at somebody else. If you struggle with something that you want to correct or edify somebody else in, then you need to get yourself right before you can even bring it up with them. I don't know the verse. I'd have to look it up. But it talks about having a log in your own eye. How can you take the speck from your brother's eye when you have a log in your own eye? First, remove the log from your eye. That way you can see clearly to take the speck from your brother's eye. So basically, yes, I judge. We all judge. If you suggest to somebody, oh, well, you shouldn't eat that. You should eat something healthier. Or, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should do this instead. It's a judgment. And so you will be judged based on your judgment. You will be measured, or the measure that you use will be measured to you. So if you're going around judging, oh, well, I'm holier than you, and I live a better life than you, and you're doing this wrong, and you're doing that wrong, and you shouldn't do this because I said so, even though I still do it and still struggle with it, then yes, your judgment is wrong. But if you're saying, hey, you should eat this instead of that because it's not good for you, or you should try this, or maybe you should look into this, and it's all to build somebody up or to edify or to correct, then it's not a bad judgment. And if you're not using, if you're doing everything you can to correct somebody in a positive way, to live a righteous life, a holy life, to be led by God, then God's not going to judge you negatively for that. He's going to judge you positively for that, because I guess you're trying to motivate somebody to live a righteous life, to live by God's word instead of living by man's word. So I really don't see God saying, oh, well, you used my word to correct this person, and you yourself, you don't struggle with this, so you were trying to get this person not to struggle with it as well. I'm going to judge you harshly for that. I don't see that. My pastor once said at the congregation that it doesn't matter what a woman or man looks like. It doesn't matter how attractive they are. It wouldn't matter if I somehow met some kind of Victoria's Secret model and she didn't believe in Jesus Christ. If she didn't believe in Jesus Christ, I shouldn't be with her. Why? Because she doesn't believe in Jesus Christ. Why is that a problem? Because it's just like in the Old Testament where God says, do not intermingle with these people with their pagan beliefs, because they will water down, they will filter in their beliefs with your beliefs, thus making it a false belief. So, you need to find a good Christian woman, because I'm a Christian. And that's a judgment. So, and it's not a negative judgment. It's not something that's going to break me down. It's something that will help, that he felt would be useful to build me up, or build up anybody in the congregation. So, yes, he made a judgment, and it was a righteous judgment. There's another verse that I have here. Let's see. Right here, John 7:24 says, "Do not judge according to appearance, but judge with righteous judgment." So we are allowed to judge, but only when somebody is doing the total opposite of what God's word says we should do. So, to say that all judgment is bad, then if you have a neighbor who's married with kids, is cheating on his wife, gambling away all their money, and doing drugs, what, you're just going to stand by and say, oh, well, they're doing what they want to do, which isn't what God says to do, but I can't judge, so I can't say anything, so I'm just going to try and figure out what I'm going to eat for dinner. No, that's not what it means. If you have a neighbor that's doing all this, you need to pull verses from God's word and say, hey, God says that's not right. So you'll be judging righteously. So I don't know. I just wanted to do a short bit on that, because there's too many people out there that say, oh, well, Jesus didn't judge, and if he didn't judge, then I shouldn't judge. No, Jesus did judge. Jesus made judgment when he talked through his parables. If you're not living this way, you're living wrong. This is the truth about this. What you believe is not the truth. That's a judgment. And we can judge ourselves the same. Anything I struggle with, smoking. I hate that I smoke. I'm going to try vape. I know neither one of them is healthy. I know God more or less wouldn't approve of either one. But, again, the thought popped in my head. It's me trying to do instead of letting God do for me. And I think that's something that we all struggle with. We all struggle with, what can God really do, or what will God really do in and through us. I don't know. It reminds me of the old poem that's talks about how Jesus is walking beside a man. You can see footprints in the sand, but you only see one set of footprints. And the man says, when times got hard, where were you? You were gone. I had to walk through this myself. There's two sets of footprints when times are easy, but then when it goes to a struggle, there's only one set of footprints. And Jesus says, well, there's only one set of footprints because I carried you through your hard time. And I think if we have something that we do that we struggle with, until it actually becomes a true struggle, Jesus will let us try to do it ourselves until we can't, and then he will intervene and he will do it for us. But we have to be willing. And that's the hard part. because there will be times where we wish we didn't have that, or we wish we could get through this, but then there's times where we don't even think about it. You know, we're not in anguish because of it. Anguish, that reminds me, there's a video on YouTube. It's David Wilkerson, Anguish. It's moving. It's great. You should check it out. I'll probably put something in the description on that in case you want to look it up. And it's so true to today. Alright, well, it's still early in the day, so I might post another one of these today. I just wanted to get that out there, that we are allowed to judge, but we must judge rightly. We must judge righteously. And we must judge to edify, or to build up, or to confirm, to strengthen, to correct. And I think if it is something that we ourselves struggle with, then I think we should allow others to know that as well. That way they know that, you know, hey, he's not saying that, you know, this is wrong and I shouldn't do it because it's not righteous in God's eyes. He's saying, hey, you know, he's not perfect too. He struggles with it as well, and he wants to walk with you in that struggle to kind of piggyback the burden, to try and get it to where you can both help each other in correcting yourselves in that struggle. Alright, so that's it. God bless. Happy New Year. I'll be putting another one of these up probably tonight. So, just in case I don't, God bless. Happy New Year. And be thankful we have this life that we have.